Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where OP is a woman and she breaks a guy's nose. Am I the butthole for breaking a man's nose because he apparently didn't know what stop means? I'm a 21-year-old woman, and I went to my local grocery store the other day to get 1 to 2 items and then go home. As I'm grabbing the items, I see this man, aged 45 to 55, following me quite closely. You might be thinking, oh, maybe it's just a weird coincidence. No, he didn't pick up or look at any items. He didn't even have a cart. Also, for some context, I was wearing a dress. Anyways, I got uncomfortable and just went and checked out. I didn't see the man until I was almost to my car. He walks up and tries to start making awkward small talk. How old I am, the fact that my license plate is a different state than the one that I was in, where I was coming from, if I have a boyfriend. I told him that I wasn't interested and asked him to please leave me alone. He didn't, and he got closer to me. I have a very big ick about people boxing me into small places, so I said, quite loudly, "Please back away from me. I don't like this." He laughed and basically said, "Oh, she's upset. What a sweetheart." And he's now 3 inches away from me. So I panicked and slammed the palm of his hand into his nose, which broke it. He began screaming at me, but I was having a panic attack and just got in my car and left. I told some friends about it, and some say that I'm a butthole because I could have just ducked away, and some say that's a completely normal response for someone who has trauma. You know, honestly, if every single time someone ignored the word no, they immediately received a broken nose, we would live in a much better society. OP, you're doing good work out there. Keep it up. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving that guy 3.5 out of 5 buttholes. I hope he has a hard time explaining his broken nose to his wife back home. Am I the butthole for waving my passport in someone's face? I'm a 26-year-old guy, and I'm British, but I'm also a dual citizen with the UK and Ireland. This is important to the story. While traveling, I was staying in a hostel, and a group of us there decided to go out to some bars. One of the group was an American guy, let's call him Jay. For some reason, Jay immediately took issue with me and started a few jokes he made about me being British, which I can take. It was just jokes about bland food and bad weather. As the bar crawl kept going, he was getting drunker and making more and more comments. For instance, he just started referring to me as the limey and was, hold on, I gotta stop, guys. I don't know if that's a slur. Is that a slur? I've never even heard this before. A British person. Derogatory and formal. I've never heard this before. I literally don't know if this is a word we shouldn't say on YouTube, so forgive me if it's bad, but I have no idea. And he was constantly saying things like he celebrated when the Queen died. It was no longer funny, and it was just all the time him making jabs about where I'm from. I'm hardly patriotic, and I'll be the first to complain about my country, but there was a point where I was getting offended, and it was personally directed at me, and he started imitating and mocking my accent. Eventually, I got annoyed and asked him why he thought that he had the right to constantly be dunking on me and what his problem was with Britain. Jay's comment was along the lines of, "I'm Irish, so it's allowed for me to constantly hate on Britain. My family came to America because of the famine," and a bunch of other comments like that. At this point, I was a bit drunk and I'd lost my temper, so I responded by waving my Irish passport in his face. I asked him questions like, "Have you ever actually been to Ireland? Do you know any family there or know anything about Irish culture?" Of course, he barely knew anything. He didn't know of any family, and the only time he ever spent in Ireland was a week in Dublin. I started lecturing him, saying that a lot of Irish people had immigrated to the UK, and that after his family spent over 100 years in the US, he barely had any right to consider himself Irish, let alone think it's acceptable to just hate on random people from another country. The other people on this bar crawl had noticed me losing my temper and laying into the guy and called me a butthole since he was only joking. And it's stupid to play the "I'm more Irish than you" game, and I should have just asked him to stop earlier. OP, that dude is literally not Irish, and you literally are Irish, so he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm on your side, and I genuinely don't understand why the other people you were with were saying that you're the butthole when clearly he started it. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving that guy 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole because I'm intentionally not letting my neighbor in, causing her and her dog to sit outside in the dark? I live in an apartment block. To access the property after 8 p.m., you must carry your front door key with you. We were all told this prior to moving in. A tenant has moved in downstairs, and she leaves the back door unlocked to allow herself to come and go without taking her key. She is not supposed to do this, and she's been told multiple times to take her front door key in case the door locks, which she's ignored. She started treating me like a literal doorman, knocking loudly on my windows and repeatedly buzzing my apartment to try to get me to open the door for her. It's daily, and it riles up my dog every time, and it's always after 9 p.m. I've let her in twice in good faith, then told her the third time to take her key and that I will no longer be answering. She decided to go out with her dog this evening and, again, didn't bother to take her key. Then she started buzzing and knocking on my windows loudly. I shut off my buzzer, gave my dog a treat, and closed the doors, deciding to ignore her and continue watching my movie instead. This is where I could be the butthole. It was late and dark out, and she was outside by herself with her dog. She'd been out there for about 45 minutes. We also live in a shady area. Not dangerous, but definitely not pleasant at night. She's been sitting outside on the doorstep on her phone, angrily ranting about me to her friends like I'm her dad. I don't know who this woman is, aside from her treating me like a concierge. Am I the butthole? And as an update, I opened the door. I said I wouldn't, but quite frankly, I literally couldn't go to sleep knowing that she and her dog were out there. I went downstairs and opened the door and told her this was the last time. And I'll be reporting to management and calling the cops if she knocks on my windows anymore. I'm just gonna hope that a few hours outside has gotten the message across. Sorry for everyone who told me not to give in, but it's nearing midnight here, and as much as she pisses me off, I'm not about to leave her out there. Man, I feel sorry for this lady's dog. Not really for her, because she's a dum-dum, but the dog didn't do anything wrong. It's not the dog's fault. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your neighbor 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for reminding my ex that I'm only responsible for our children and not all of his kids? I'm a 35-year-old woman, and my ex-husband, who's 40, have 2 kids with me, a 12 and 11-year-old boy. We divorced about 10 years ago now because I feel like he regressed as a husband and a father during my second pregnancy, and he was even worse when our younger son was born. He was acting like a high school or college kid or a single 20-something with no kids. He spent more time with friends than with us. His friends were also treating me more like his mom and expecting me to pick him up from their houses when they needed to get on with stuff. He fought for 50% custody of our kids, which he wasn't given. And for the first 2 or 3 years, he had every other weekend and a 2-week period during the summer with them, as well as alternating holidays. He started being more involved, and eventually he did get 50% custody. This was during a time that I found out that he got some woman pregnant, and he realized with 3 kids, he needed to get his act together. He ended up with full custody of his 3rd child. Then he met his wife. They now have 2 more kids together. There are 2 kids in her life, but I don't believe they're her biological children anyway, who she's partially supporting. These 2 kids don't live with them, but apparently she and they pay for stuff for this child. My ex and I started getting along better, but then his marriage became rocky. As his marriage worsened, he started treating me like a co-parent to all of his kids. He would bring his other kids to custody exchanges, and he expected me to interact with his other kids. Then he started requesting that I babysit for him and his wife, which I never did. Then it was comments about taking our boys' old clothes at my house to his house for his kids, and how we needed to make sure that his other kids had adequate clothing. I told him there is no we in that, and he said, of course there is, we're co-parents. I said, of our 2 kids, sure, but not your other kids. Then he started requesting that I babysit his other kids in my home or take them out to eat with me and our kids. And finally, it's turned into back-to-school craziness. I bought supplies for my 2 boys, and he told me that I hadn't bought nearly enough for everyone. I was like, hold up, what's that supposed to mean? And he pointed out that what I bought wouldn't be possible to share evenly between all 5 kids. I told him, we don't have 5 kids, we have 2, the 2 that I bought these supplies for. I told him that I'm responsible for our children, not his 3 others. I told him he has a wife, they share 2 of those kids, the other is in their home, so it's up to them. He told me that I know they don't have a lot of money, and I cut him off and told him that still doesn't make his kids my problem. He said that I can't possibly take care of just 2 of them, not when we're co-parenting and have all 5 kids living together 50% of the time. He said that I should be part of the community to help raise these kids, and keeping my distance like I do is so dang cold. Am I the butthole? It's interesting that you're expected to care for those kids, but it doesn't seem like his current wife is giving things to your kids. No, it's just a one-way transaction. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your ex-husband 2.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for ruining my friend's vacation? I'm a 38-year-old woman, and I just got back from a vacation with 2 of my longtime friends, Kate, who's 40, and Mary, who's 38. I've known them both since university, and we've always been close. The 3 of us have been planning this trip to Bali for a few months, along with our husbands and their kids. Each of them has kids under 5 years old, while me and my husband Jake are child-free. We agreed to split the cost of a 4-bedroom villa 3 ways, and everything seemed fine at first. Jake and I arrived in Bali earlier than the rest of the group because we had different flights. Once we got to the villa, we waited to choose rooms with our friends and didn't mind when they both chose the ones with en-suites. We had a great time during the trip. Jake and I did some couple activities, massage, hiking, dinners, but we also spent time with Kate and Mary and their families whenever it worked for everyone. To be nice, I even surprised them with massages to give them a break. The only thing that made me uncomfortable was that whenever I ordered a drink, like a cocktail before dinner or a glass of wine with meals, I'd get comments like, "Oh, you're drinking again?" For context, I'm a social drinker and don't drink often, but we were on vacation and I didn't think that it was a big deal, especially since our husbands were drinking too. I just ignored the comments so I could enjoy the trip. On the last night, Jake and I made plans with the guys to go out, and Kate and Mary said that they were staying in to pack. Jake convinced me to join him, and since it was the last night of our vacation, I didn't want to stay inside either. We went out and had a great time. We got home at 1 a.m. and I passed out straight after. The next morning was a bit chaotic, with everyone packing and checking out, but we all made it back home without issue. Me and my husband had booked business class seats, so we were separated during the flight and said quick goodbyes at the airport. A week after returning home, I got a long text from Kate saying that both she and Mary wanted to reduce contact with me because I'd ruined their vacation. They mentioned several things, like me drinking every night, that I wasn't acting like a girl's girl, that I booked different flights, that I didn't hang out with them enough, and that I was selfish for not helping with their kids. She even said that I was just focused on partying and not acting my age. This message really hurt me. I cried after reading it, and I honestly didn't know what to think. I thought I was just enjoying my vacation, but clearly they had a different view. I haven't responded yet, and my husband has been asking what's bothering me, but I don't know what to say. Am I the butthole for how I acted during the trip? Oh, I see the problem. The issue, OP, isn't about the drinking or the flights or any of the other stuff. It's that they expected you to volunteer to watch their kids so they could enjoy their trip more, so they're using all this ammo, if you can even call it that, to make you feel bad so you'll volunteer in the future. Either that or they're just insanely jealous that you went out partying with their husbands, but if they were insanely jealous, why would you go on a tropical vacation with another couple in the first place? So I don't think it's jealousy. I think they're just trying to manipulate you into becoming a free babysitter, OP. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving these mean girls 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Also, it's super interesting that they criticize you, but they don't criticize their own husbands for doing the exact same things. Because the husbands were drinking every day, the husbands went out to party on the last night, the husbands didn't help with the packing. Am I the butthole for not giving my sister my wife's clothes? My wife is a corporate lawyer and mediator. She has some very nice work clothes. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and was gone in 2 years. The last 6 months of her life were hell. My sister Sarah didn't do jack for us during that time. My wife never liked her. I don't like my sister. She's a selfish cow. At my wife's wake, my sister started asking about my wife's clothes, and I brushed her off. She wanted to pick out a few pieces to remember my wife by, and I ignored her. It's been 6 months, and I've attended my mom's birthday, but I'm still not in the mood to deal with people. Then Sarah comes, asking about my wife's clothes. I told her my wife wanted me to donate them to a women's shelter, which she often helped. This would help women in need with their own court cases, their court appointments, and job interviews. My sister said that my wife was even selfish in death. I asked her, what the F is that supposed to mean? And she started going off about how my wife always thought that she was better than her. And it's not fair that the clothes are going to charity and not to family. I told my sister that I would rather see my wife's clothes lit on fire than to have her wear them. My sister started crying, and my mom came over to see what's wrong. My mom told me to be easy on my sister because she was taking my wife's death hard. The effing insanity of that coming out of my mom's mouth made me grab my gift and leave. My mom acted like I ruined her birthday by being melodramatic, but I can't believe their emotional blackmail towards me over clothes that they have no right to. Okay, OP, I have a pretty good sense of why you don't like your sister. Asking about a dead person's possession at their actual wake is super trashy behavior. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your mom and your sister 2 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash Am I the Butthole, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.